Mode.
Hi everyone, a very good afternoon to everyone. I'm Amit Sharma again, and today what I'll be doing is I'll be teaching you various concepts in Android, and I'll be talking about the widgets again. As we had discussed some of the widgets in the last section that we had done, but we'll be taking it further in this session today. So I hope my voice is audible to everyone. You can quickly write it onto the chat window if this is audible to everyone. I think majority of the people have not joined in yet. So I think we'll wait for another few minutes for the people to join in. I hope that is fine with everyone. So in the meantime, people are joining in. I have Santosh here. Santosh, have you started working on the assignments that have been put up for you on Edureka.in? You can write your responses onto the chat window. I hope you're with me, Santosh. Okay. All right. So I think we can start with the course now. All right, Santosh. So you can speak now. Santosh, have you started working on those assignments that have been put up for you on Edureka.in?
Yeah, actually, I just started. So,
Okay.
I mean, this week I'll finish it actually.
All right.
Because there is a problem actually. Yeah.
All right. I think Vivek has also joined in. So how are you, Vivek? And have you also started working on those assignments that we have put up for you all on Edureka.in? Alright, so let's start with the session that we have up for today. And today I'll be also discussing the project plan with you all, so that you can just take a look at the project plan and make yourselves comfortable in the execution of the complete project plan. Alright. So today I'll be talking about the widgets, and I'll be continuing the widgets where we left it from. So in the last class we had covered widgets till the spinner, if I'm correct. Alright. So I'll be taking on a few more widgets which you'll be actually needing in your applications that you'll be creating all by yourself. So first let me talk about the autocomplete text view. So if I talk about an autocomplete text view, it is an editable text view that shows completion suggestions automatically. You might have come across the Google filtering, wherein you just type something and it automatically populates data that is coming onto it. Alright, so very much similar to that, we have an autocomplete text view wherein it has got an adapter backing. So when I say an adapter backing, I mean I have a data source for it. Alright, and whenever I'll be typing in something, what I'll be doing is I'll be actually filtering the data source, and the data source will be filtered upon the user typing. That is, if I say I type A, alright, so all the data that have A starting with, it starts with the alphabet A, will be shortlisted and shown to me as a list view. Alright, so the drop down can be dismissed at any time by pressing the back key, or if no item is selected in the drop down, by pressing the center or the D-pad key. So here is an example of an autocomplete text view. What I have is I have a linear layout. Under the linear layout I have an autocomplete text view. Then under the autocomplete text view I'll be filling it up the adapter. So let's take an example for it. So here I'll go to file, I go to new, create a new Android application project, and I say it autocomplete, or say sample autocomplete. Alright, once I do that, I give it an API version. I click on next, I choose the images, I won't choose any, I click on finish. Alright, so this is the project that gets opened up. I go into the activity panel, go to the main activity, go to the layout file, Under the layout file I have a relative layout, and under that I have a text view. So let's first remove this text view and also change this relative layout to linear layout, as I'm actually more concerned about aligning the various children in the view group in the manner like vertical orientation, in the orientation which is said to be vertical. Alright, so here I say orientation, give it a vertical attribute, and once I'm done with it, I go to the graphical layout here. Under the composite, under the graphical layout, I have to find out the autocomplete text view if I can find it somewhere. So I go on to the text fields, go to the composite, images and media, none. Alright. So here I'm not finding the autocomplete text view, so what I can do is I can just create my own. So here I go to autocomplete, I type in autocomplete text view. Alright, give it a height and width attribute, and height should be, can anyone type it onto the chat window, what should be the height of the autocomplete text view? Because whenever I'm treating the height attribute, I always treat it with wrap content, and whenever I'm treating with the width attribute, I majorly do it with the fill parent, because I actually want to have the full, I would say, screen space assigned to the layout. Alright, then I have to provide it an ID so that I can use it in my application. I say @ ID, which is the general naming convention that I follow when I'll be creating some IDs for the autocomplete text view, and here I say autocomplete. Once I do that, I go to the graphical representation, and you can see, I'll just zoom it up for all of you here. You can see this autocomplete text view up here. Alright, so this is the autocomplete text view. Alright, so this is the main activity, and this is the XML part that I have created for the activity. Now let's go back to main activity, create an object. I say private, I say autocomplete text view, I say auto TV. Alright, this is the reference that I'm creating, so I'll have to place this reference with the help of the XML. So I say auto, and I do a find view by ID for this. Before that, I have to typecast it. I do a find view by ID, I say r.id. And here is my autocomplete here. So this is what I had created. Alright, so this is my autocomplete text view. Now what I need to fill in this autocomplete text view is also the adapter, or as I told you, the data source that I need for this autocomplete text view. So in order to provide the data source to the autocomplete text view, what I need is I need an array adapter here. So I'll do an array and do a control space here, and I say adapter. I create an adapter of the type string, which I do, and here I name the adapter. So I say adapter, then I have to create a new instance for this. So I say new array adapter. Context is again the main activity dot this, because this is the activity context that I'm using here, and it is asking me for the text view resource ID as if the ID that it will be using in order to display all the data source. So I say Android dot r dot layout dot simple is item 1. Right, then I also need to plug in the data source to it. So let's take a data source. I have already created an array list here, so I'll just copy this array list up, which is holding all the days in all the months in a calendar year. So here I have the array. Now I just need to pass this array to the adapter as the third argument. So I say item. Once I do that, I do control S. So I just terminate this with a semicolon here. Once I do that, what I need to do is I need to pass in this adapter to the autocomplete text view. I say autocomplete text view dot set adapter. And what is the adapter? It is the name of the adapter. So it is also the adapter. So once I'm done with this, I do a control S. So what I have done is I've created a string array. I've created an autocomplete text view. Then I have just passed an adapter to the autocomplete text view. Let's run it up. So once I'll be running it up onto the screen here, onto the device, it will actually show me up the autocomplete text view. So here is my autocomplete text view. So if I type in, I say type in January, and you can see the autocomplete functioning is working here. But I have not told you another attribute here, which is very important to know, which is the threshold value. So whenever I have created an autocomplete text view, I can also assign a threshold value to it. Threshold value is the number of characters after which you want the search to be filtered up. So if I say, I create an attribute here and I say call it as threshold. Alright, so I call it as threshold here. I say Android completion threshold and I give it a value 1. So what I mean here by the completion threshold value to be 1 is that as soon as I'll be typing in one character onto the text view, alright, so it will be showing me the suggestions. So let's just do that. Here you can see presently it is 1 character, but it is not showing up any suggestions yet. If I type in A, alright, then it shows up the suggestions. So now what I want is, I want this to be showing suggestions as soon as I'll be typing in a character. So I just run this up. Alright, so here if I'll be typing J, it will be actually showing me the auto suggestions from the very first character. And similarly, I can set this value to anything that I feel like. So I can set it up to 4, in which case what it will do is it will actually start filtering after I'll be entering the 4th character. See an example for it. So here I have the text view and here I say January. As soon as I type the 4th character, it shows me the auto completion. When I click on it, it will automatically get filled into this text view, right? So I can also do one more thing here. I can also assign an on item selected listener to it, because I might want to know what is the item that gets selected. And here I can do a set on item selected listener. And I create a new on item selected listener. Do the necessary imports here. Provide it with the overridden methods. Once I do that, I can have an toast message here. I hope everybody is aware about toast now. If not, you can quickly write it onto the chat window. In the meanwhile, I'm creating a toast message for this. If this is clear to everyone, the toast message, you can write it onto the chat window if this is clear to you, that you understand what a toast message means here. I say the value selected is, and what I'll do is items, the array, and the reference of the array. So here it gives me an integer argument 2. So here I'll be fetching the integer argument 2 from the array, because this is the item that got selected here. I'll have to change this to final, and then what I need is the duration. So I say toast dot length short, and finally I have to show this toast message. I do a show here, right? So whatever item I'll be selecting from the autocomplete, it will be actually highlighted with the help of a toast message. So let this run up. So here if I type in say January, since the threshold value is at present 4, so it will I have to type the 4 characters here. As soon as I do that, alright, I have the keyboard up, so I have to remove this keyboard up. Alright, so here I do that. I say January. As soon as I do that, what I'll do is select and remove the keyboard. Alright, so it is just the keyboard is hiding up the complete toast message that I have to show here. So this is how a toast message can also be shown onto the text view. Whatever value got selected from the text view can also be retrieved by the user. Alright, I hope this is clear to everyone. Any person having any doubts, any queries here? You can write it onto the chat window. I hope everybody is with me here. Any person having any doubts with the autocomplete text view? You can quickly write it onto the chat window. Yes, Vivek has raised his hand. Yes, Vivek, you can speak up. Vivek, I hope I'm audible to everyone. Vivek, you can speak up now. I don't know what the problem is. Alright, so Vivek is asking me about the toast notification here. So Vivek, toast notification, what it does is it just raises a notification. It just raises a text which is actually present onto the screen for a partial time. Alright, so what I can do is I can just raise a toast as soon as the activity gets launched so that you can come to know about the toast notifications. Alright, so as soon as I get into the on create, I'll raise a toast notification which is just saying some text to the user. Right? Now you'll know what exactly how a toast looks like. So when I do a run as soon as this activity will get onto the screen, it will be showing you a toast notification at the bottom of the screen. So here you can see that the value selected is, it is the toast notification that I have shown. Is this clear to you, Vivek, now? What is the toast notification here? Or toast message that gets showed up onto the bottom of the screen? Alright. So any person having any doubts here into the complete thing that we have covered till now? That's correct. It is very much like a tooltip. Alright, so I can also do one more thing. What I can do is I can also have the text views, the autocomplete text views to be generated via code. Alright, so what I'll do here is I'll just remove this up from the linear layout now. Alright, and just to give an ID to the linear layout here. I say ID and I say @ +ID / I say linear and I say parent. Alright, so as soon as I do that, what will happen is all the items that I have set for the text view here, I have to remove them up, or what I'll do is I'll just comment them up. Alright, so here I have commented it all, and now what I'll do is I'll create an object of the linear layout here. So I'm telling you how you can also create the various items, whether it be a text view, whether it be a autocomplete text view, whether it be any other tool that you want to use up with the help of the code, that is dynamically. Alright, so here what I'll do is just comment this up as well. So I have the linear layout. Now I have to reference this linear layout with the help of the XML. I say linear equal to, I say linear layout, I say find view by ID, I say r.id dot, the linear parent is the ID here. Alright, so now what I can do is I can have an iteration. I say for int I equal to 0 and say I is less than 5 for instance, and I do an I++. Alright, so once I do that, here what I'll be doing is I'll be creating the autocomplete text view objects. So I say auto equal to, I say new autocomplete text view, and now I have to pass in the main activity dot this to this because this takes an argument as this is context. And now when it gets generated, what I need is I need to pass in this autocomplete text view to the linear layout, and I say linear dot add children. I just took another method here. I say add child, that is add view, and I just add the child to it, and the child that I'm adding to this view is the auto text here. Right, so once I do that, I can also do an adapter fit setting here. I can also do auto dot set adapter. I create a new array adapter inside, and I say main activity dot this, and I have to pass in the android dot r dot layout dot simple drop down, or I choose the list item 1, and then I can pass in the array to it. Here I have to typecast, so I'll just do a string here. Once I'm done with it, I just terminate this with a semicolon here. Alright, so this is how I can also generate the various text views onto the screen dynamically. So once I'll be doing a run as, what I'll be seeing is I'll be seeing 5 text views one after the other placed onto the main activity. Here you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is how you can also place your text views, or I would say the UI components at the runtime. As you can see here, I have placed 5 autocomplete text views. Similar to the autocomplete text views, you can also place the text views, the edit text, I would say all the other widgets that I have told you, the spinners, and also the widgets like the checkboxes, radio buttons, all can be done with the help of the coding as well. All right, everybody is clear with this? How you can do it on the runtime? What you need is you need a view group which will act as the parent to the components that you're adding up. So this is how it can be done. So if I say January here, and you can see that. All right, I can have all these once working. So this is how it works. Any person having any doubts with the runtime allocation of objects and the runtime creation of widgets, you can quickly write it onto the chat window. Any person having any doubts here? Should I move ahead? Before I move ahead, I have a poll question for all of you here. What is used for controlling the number of characters for filtering in an autocomplete text view? Is it the threshold value? Is it the adapter values? Or is it the filter value? So you all can cast your votes onto the polling window that is shown on the top of your screens. Is it the threshold value? Is it the adapters? Or is it the filters that are used for controlling the number of sequences, number of characters that are used for filtering the text? You all can cast your votes quickly onto the polling window here. I'll wait for all of you to cast votes. Alright, so I have got 100% result, and it is for the option A, which is threshold, and that is the correct answer to it. So I hope this example is clear to everyone. If yes, you can quickly write it onto the chat window with a yes. Otherwise, if there is any doubt, you can ask me the doubts that you have here. I hope this is clear to everyone. Alright, so there we have another widget which is called the date picker. So the widget that the date picker looks like is actually they open up in a pop-up, that is the dialog box. So this class is a widget for selecting a date. The date can be selected by an year, a month, and a day spinner. So what this widget contains is it contains a dialog box. Under the dialog box we have the various options like the year, the month, and the day spinners. So here is an option to it. You can see this. We have a widget which is the date picker here, and similar to the date picker we also have a time picker widget. So a time picker widget is a view for selecting the time of the day in either of the formats. Like if you want to show the time in the 24-hour format, you can show it in the 24-hour format. If you want to show it in the AM PM mode, you can show it in the AM PM mode. So the hour can be entered by the keyboard input, and similarly the minutes can be also entered by the keyboard input. So here is an example for it. Let's talk about a running code for this. So I'll just close this up. In order to use the date pickers and time pickers, what I'll do is I'll create a new project here, and I'll say sample date time picker. Once I do that, I give it an API version here, click on next, and I finish it up. So once I do that, it opens up a view for me. In this view, what I need is I just need 2 buttons here. I just need 2 buttons, and whatever I'll be actually picking up from the date and time picker, I'll be raising a toast for it. All right. So in here, first of all, let me change this to linear layout here. Once I have done that, I need to place two buttons here. So I just go the graphical representation, pull out a button here, pull out another button here, give it an orientation. I have not given it an orientation yet. I say vertical. Once I do that, I have two buttons here, the button 1 and button 2, and I have to change the text here. And I say time picker, and here I say a date picker. Alright, so I'm done with this. Now I go to the layout main activity. Here I create the references of the buttons that I have just created. I say button time picker, and I create another button here which says button date picker. Alright, then I'll take up the necessary references from the XML here. I say button date picker equal to button find view by ID. I say r.id dot button 1. Alright, let's see if this is the one that we are using here. So I go to this declaration part here, and here this is the date picker, which is right. I have reference for this with the correct ID here. Similarly, I say button time picker equal to button, I do a find view by ID here, r.id dot button 2. Alright, so as I told you, when I had told you about the date and time pickers, I had told you that we actually work upon this with the help of the dialog boxes or the dialog widgets. Alright, so in order to use the dialog boxes, what we have to do is we have to create an overridden method which says on create dialog. Here you can see that I have the on create dialog. So what I'll do is I'll just create a method for it. As soon as I do that, it gives me an overridden method which says on create dialog. Now what I need is I need to pass this arguments onto the on create dialogs. So what I'll do here is I'll create the on click listeners for these various buttons here that I have created, and I create a new on click listener, terminate this with a semicolon, do the necessary imports here. Similarly, I'll be creating an on click listener for the time picker as well. I create a new on click listener for it. I'll just terminate this with a semicolon here. Alright, so what I can do is I can just, whenever I'll be clicking on the particular say button, what I'll do is I'll do a show dialog. It is asking me for a unique identifier. I'll just tell you what this unique identifier here means. So I'll just place a show dialog to every particular dialog box. Alright, here what I have done is I have created a show dialog. So as soon as I'll be calling up this show dialog, what will happen is it will go into the on create dialog box. So in the on create dialog box, what I can do is I can create a switch case here, or I can say similar. I just need two conditions here. So I can say if ID, that is I'm passing on from the method that I'm using here, show dialog, and I say if ID equals 0, what I'll do is I'll do something. Alright, similarly, if I say if ID equal 1, I'll do something else. That is, I'll be actually taking the various decisions as to whether I should show up a time dialog ID or I should show up a date picker. So these are the conditions that I'm placing here. So what I need to do is I need to pass in an ID 0 to the show dialog, because at present I'll be actually showing the dialog 0 here, and similarly I can pass an ID 1 here. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually passing two different IDs. Depending upon the different IDs, what will happen is if ID equals 0, that is it is for the date picker, it will be actually creating an instance of the date picker here. And similarly, if ID equal to 1, what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a time picker instance. time picker dialog box instance for it. But in order to utilize the date and time pickers, what we also need is we need some on time set listeners, and similarly on date set listeners for it. So let's create an object for it. I say private, I say time picker dialog, because this is the one that I'll be using here, and I say on time set listener, and I say time callback, because this is a callback method which will get called as soon as I'll be selecting any time from the time picker. And I say new time picker dialog, I say time picker dialog dot on time set listener. As soon as I do that, it actually gives me a method which says as soon as the time will be set by the time picker, what I'll be doing is I'll be showing a toast notification here. I say toast dot make text, and I say main activity dot this, the text that I want to show up. So here I'll say the time set is, and the time. So time, what I'm getting here is I'm getting the minutes and the hours of the day. So what I'll do here is I'll just output this up. So I say this is the end hours of the day. So I say hours of the day plus I do a space in between these two items, and then I say minute. Alright, so here I do a control S. I think what is the problem here? Alright, I have missed the plus symbol here, concatenation, and now I need to give the duration here. I say toast dot length long, and I just make this toast to show up onto the screen. Right, minute, comma, toast dot length long, and I say toast dot show. Once I do that, it is done from my side. Alright, so now what I have done is I have created a time callback. So now I need to use this time callback for the time picker dialog. So in order to use that, what I'll be doing here is I'll be creating a new instance. I say I'll be returning a new instance of the time picker dialog, and I say new time picker dialog, and I gain the arguments here, and I say main activity dot this is the context here. Then the other arguments that I have to give it is the time callback method, and also I can also specify the time that I want to set up. So I say 12, 00, then I can also give it a argument which says true or false. I'll just tell you about the argument in a few moments from now. Alright, so here I have created a time picker dialog. Now similar to the time picker dialog, what I need to do is I need to create a date picker dialog. So in order to utilize the date picker dialog, what I'll do here is I'll create a date picker ID. And in order to use the date picker, here I'll be creating a private, and I say date picker dialog. And in the date picker dialog, on date set listener, and I create a new on date set listener. So I say I can create a date callback here. Alright, I call the date callback here, and I create a new date picker dialog on date set listener. Once I do that, it generates a method stub for me. In the method stub, what I need to do is I just need to show up a toast message. Whatever has been returned to me by the complete method, as soon as the date will be set by the user, what it will do is it will show up this method. It will call this method on date set, and this method will give me the year, the month of the year, and the day of the month. So I'll just place these values here. I say I'll actually display it up in the format of YY here. Then I need the month, so I say month of the year, and I'll be adding 1. I'll be just telling you why I have added 1 here onto the month of the year. Then we have the day of the month. So whenever the date picker, what happens is with the date picker in Android is, whenever the date picker returns the month, it actually starts the month with the value 0. Right? So if I'm talking about January, what I get from the month value is 0. So I have to always append a single digit. That is, suppose if I have the month as January, I need to pass in 0 plus 1. Similarly, if I'm having the current month, that is October. All right. So what this month of the year will be returning me, the value is 9, and I have to append a value 1 to the month of the year. So let's run this up and see how it runs up. All right, but I haven't created a date picker here. So I say return, and I say new date picker dialog, and I create, I'll just use this up because the argument list is the same for date picker and time picker except for the last parameter here. And I say the main activity, then I need to type in the date callback, and then I have to pass in the year. So I say 2012 for instance, the month. So I'll choose the default date to be today's date. So here I'll pass 09, and here I have to pass in the value, that is the date. So date is 27. Once I do that, I do a control S here and just run it up so that you all can see this date picker and time pickers working up. So once I do that, if I click on the date picker, what will happen is it will open up a dialog box for me, which will be holding the date picker, and you can see the values that I had passed in onto the date picker, that is today's value, that is today's date, is automatically shown up as the default value here. Now if I make any changes here, all right, and I click on set, what happens is I'll be getting a notification that the date set is this much. Similarly to if I click on the time picker here, so I have the time picker and I can set any time picker here. So you can see this is the 24-hour format that the time picker is presently working in. All right, so I had told you I had used a method here, I had used a parameter here which is true. So whenever I set this parameter onto the time picker dialog to true, what happens is it will actually show me up. I'll just show you the method parameters here. As you can see here, it says boolean is 24-hour view. That is, if it is set to true, it will show up the complete time picker in the 24-hour format. As you can see here, presently it is in the 24-hour format. All right. While if I set this up to false, it will show the time picker in the 12-hour format. All right. So here, if I do a set here, it will show me the time set, which is 21:0. All right. Similarly, if I do a run as on this particular work, that is the time picker to be showing me up and the things in the 12-hour format or the time in the 12-hour format. All right. So here, if I click on the time picker now, it will show me up the 12-hour format, as you can see. And as if I do a set here, it will show me the time here, whatever time has been set by the user. So this is how the date pickers and the time pickers work in Android. Any person having any doubts in this particular sample, they can write it onto the chat window. I'll wait for you to type up. If there is any problem, any sort of doubt that you people have, you can write it onto the chat window. Any person having any sort of doubts with the complete sample that we have covered till now, you can write it onto the chat window. So here I have a question from Vivek here. How could we change the format of the date picker or the time picker? Vivek, are you talking about? The AM/PM format are you talking about, right? No, there's only one format that is allowed to the date picker. So I hadn't shown you any different format for the date picker. And for the time picker, what you can have is you can have a 24 or a 12-hour format for it. All right. So in order to change this up here, what I'm doing is I have created a time dialog ID And here I have a time callback, and in the last parameter of the time picker dialog, as you can see, I just showed you with the help of this method here. It says boolean is 24-hour format view, and if you go into the method here, it shows whether this is a 24-hour view or an AM PM mode. So if it is set to be true, it is showing me, it will show me the time picker in the 24-hour format, and if it's set to be false, it will show me the time picker in the AM PM format. Vivek, I hope this is clear to you now. So once I set it to false, it will show up in AM PM mode. If I set it to true, it will show me up 24-hour format. So this is how it works. Though I'll be sharing all these coding samples with you all, so that you can also take a look at it at home once. And if you have any problems, you can just write to me an email or just get the support on Skype. So I'll be helping you out. Don't worry about that. Till now, any problems in this particular coding sample that we have covered for the date and time picker, you can quickly write it onto the chat window. Any person having any doubts here? If not, you can quickly write that you have understood everything, and then I'll move ahead. So here I'll just close this up. Let's move ahead with the presentation that we have. So here we also have another important component which we call the web views. So a web view is a view that displays the web pages. Suppose if you want in your applications that you want to show some web pages onto the application, maybe a Facebook page, maybe any page that you want to just look into. So you can roll up your own web browser or simply display some online content with your activity. But it is very important to know that whenever you'll be using the web view, you'll be actually having a permission to use the internet in your applications. So I'll cover up a sample here, wherein what I'll be doing is I'll be creating an edit text, and whatever I'll be keying into the edit text, whatever I'll be typing in, I'll actually just display the web view, or I'll just load the URL. I'll create an Android application project, and I say sample web view, give it an API version here. So I do finish here. So I have a text view here, so I'll just remove this text view. I create a linear layout here. Linear layout, then what I'll do is I'll just copy or drag and drop a text field onto the linear layout here. And then after that, what I need is I need a button, because I'll be actually using a button for the on-click behavior. Alright, let me just change the orientation first. Alright, so I have created a button here. I'll just rearrange these things here. So here I have a text view, I have a button beneath that. Now I also need a web view here. So I have to find out the web view here, which I found in the composite section. So if I just click a drag and drop here, I have also generated a web view in my application. You can go on to the activity main here, where it says the web view component has been added onto the view. Alright, so here I go on to the activity main. I create a references for all the components that I have created in my XML, which is an edit text. I also create an object for the web view here. I say web view. Then I also create an object for the button here. I say button load. Once I'm done with this, what I'll do is I'll reference all these things from the XML here. I do an edit text, I do a find view by ID here. I say r.id.edit text 1. Similarly, I'll create a button here. I say button load. I do a button. Dot id dot button 1. Similarly, I'll take a reference of the web view here. I do a find view by id here. Dot id dot the web view. So I've taken all the references. Now what I need is I need a button click listener. So I'll do create a button click listener here. Create a new on click listener for it. Once it is done, I do the necessary imports here. And in the on click, what I'll be doing is what I'll be taking is I'll be taking the event from the edit text. So here what I'll do is I'll say a string and I say text equal to edit dot get text dot toString. I'll cast it to string so that I can use it up. And now what I'll do is I say web view dot load URL, and it is asking me for the URL. So all the URLs that we load with the help of the web view are actually preceded by the HTTP, which is a normal naming convention here. And I say HTTP plus text. Whatever I'll be typing in onto the edit text, I'll be actually using the web view to load it up. So this part is complete now. As I told you, one more thing, there is one more requirement whenever we will be using the web view is you have to have the permissions for the internet access. So I go into the manifest here. Under the manifest, I have a permissions tab. I go on to the permissions tab and I go on to the add permissions. And I say what kind of permission I want to use my application permission. I say click on the use, and here I have to find out the internet permission here. So here this is the permission here that I have found out, and I have, once I do a click, I do a control S, and here it gets added up onto my XML here, which says Android permission dot internet. Any person having any doubts how we add up the permission onto the manifest? You can write it onto the chat window. If any person have any doubts how we did this, how we have just added a permission onto the manifest file. Alright, so I'll repeat it for you, Vivek here. What I did was I went on to the Android manifest. I went on to the permissions tab. Under the permissions tab, what I did was I clicked on add. As soon as I clicked on add, it is asking me for what type of permission you want to add, and my application wants to use a permission. So I click on the use this permission, which shows up this particular window to me. Under this permission, what I can do is I can just select my permission because I have already used that, the internet one. It is not shown here. So here I click on the internet permission, and what I do is as soon as I click, I do a control S, just save this up. Alright, and you can see it has actually has loaded it twice, so I'll just delete once, and so it shows up onto the Android manifest file. Understood, everyone? If not, you can just write it up. I'll repeat again for all of you. All you need to do is you need to go into the permissions tab, go to the add, find the permission that you want to add up, and just do a control S after selecting the permission. I'll wait for everyone to type in if they have understood now. So here what I have done is I just created a web view. So I'll just run it up for all of you. I've already given the internet permissions, so I think it should work fine now. So here what I have to do is I have to type in a URL. I say W, and I say dot, and I do Facebook, I say facebook.com, and I say slash, and I say edureka.in. Once I do that, I click on the button here and it will load up the URL for me. And you can see that this complete page gets changed into a web view here. And now it will load up the URL for me. And you can see that this is the Edureka page that shows up onto the web view. So all the normal features that you want to take in your application, like the zoom up, zoom out, and all the things that you can take with the help of the URLs, alright? So all are available to you on the web view. Any person having any doubts here onto the use of the web view, how you can use that? You can see that the complete web page is showing up here. Any person having any doubts with the utilization of the web views here? You can write it onto the chat window. Similar to the, I would say similarly, if I have to load a URL here, similar to loading the URL, what I can also do is I can also load my web view with the help of the HTML content. So here I have a content string here, which is holding the HTML content to me. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this up, and I say string instead of the string. What I'll do is I'll straight paste this up. So this is the content that I have to load in my web view here. And instead of the load URL, what I'll be doing is I'll be using a method which says load data, and it is having 3 parameters here. Alright, so the data parameter is the content that I'm loading up here, and the MIME type is the type of data that I'm trying to show on the screen here. So my type of data is the HTML data. I can say text or HTML data here. Then it is asking me for the encoding. So presently I'm not supporting any encoding here. I won't give it any encoding here. So if I do a run as here, and it will show up the web view, it will show up the HTML content that I want to show up in the web view. So it is very much like you can have your own HTML content as well as the content that you want to render from the web. You can see that this is the HTML content that I wanted to display onto the web view. So it is very much like you can also have your HTML content that you can display on the web view, and you can also have the URLs that you want to redirect the application to in your applications. I hope this is clear to everyone. Is this clear to everyone? If yes, you can write it on the chat window so that I can have some understanding here. If not, you can just write it up and I'll just repeat it again for all of you. Alright, so this is how we utilize the web views in Android. Now let's move ahead here. So how do we switch from one activity to another? Because if I talk about multiple applications, right? So if I have an activity that is not going to serve any purpose for an application, I need to have multiple activities in my application. I cannot work on a single activity throughout my project. So any Android application will comprise of many activities, and how do they interact with one another is an important factor that needs to be taken care of here. So here, in order to utilize or in order to call the second activity from the first activity, what we have is we have the intents for it. And here is an example of how you can call the various activities from one activity to the other. So here I'll take an example for it. So here I'll create a new sample here. And I say passing, or I say switch activity sample. Choose an API version here. And I click on next. And I click on finish. So here I have the text view. Under the text view, what I'll do is I'll just change text and I'll say I say this is application, this is activity 1, and what I'll do is I'll also create a new string here, so which I'll be showing in my second activity. And I say instead of hello world, what I'll have is second activity text, and here I say this is activity 2. Alright, simple things that I have done here. Here I go to the main activity, I have the layout main. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this complete layout main and I create a new layout here. So in order to create a new layout here, what I'll do is I'll create a new, and I say Android XML file, and here it is asking me for the file name here, so I'll give it a file name. I say second activity, once I do that, I click on next, I click on finish. So this is my second activity.xml. It is already showing me a linear layout, so I'll just copy this complete text and replace this string variable with the text that I have just provided, which is the second activity text. So what will happen is this will contain, this is this activity 2 message here, and if I talk about the activity main, it will contain the message which says this is activity 1. Now I need to start activity 2 from activity 1. So here what I'll do is I'll create a file, I say file new, and I say new class. Alright, I have to name this class, so I say second activity. Once I do that, I do a finish here. Now what I need to do is I need to extend the activity class. Alright, once I do extend the activity class, what I can have is I can have the overridden method which says onCreate. Alright, so this is the onCreate method. Into the onCreate method, what I need to do is I need to have the set content view, because if you might remember, in every particular application that I'm using a set content view which will actually load up the contents of the XML onto the activity. So here just beneath that, what I'll do is I'll do a set content view, and the resource that I have just created, which is the second layout, sorry, our dot layout dot second, I don't know why it's not showing up the second activity.xml here. Let's just do a clean. Dot layout dot, here it is now, second activity. So just what I have done is I have just changed the text so that it is clear to everyone which is the first activity and which is the second activity that gets launched up. Now I go to the main activity here, and in the main activity what I'll do is I'll create a button here. The activity main, right? So here I'll create a button, and I'll just place this button beneath the activity 1 text, right? And I just give it a text and say launch second activity. Once I do that, what will happen is it will be actually having the text which says launch second activity. Now I need to create an on-click listener for this button, so I'll just create a button here. I say start activity, take the reference from the XML here. I say r.id dot button 1, and I create an on-click listener for this. Alright, so I have created an on-click listener. Do the necessary imports here. And in the on-click, what I need to do is I need to create an intent. I say intent equal to new intent. As I showed you the parameters here, so it has to take two parameters here. So I'll just give it the parameters. One is the launching activity, and I say main activity dot this. And then second one is the launched activity. I say second activity dot class. So this is how it's done. Now what I need to do is I need to call this activity. So I say start activity with the intent as the parameter here. Alright. So I think I have done majority of the functioning. That is, I have created a second activity, I have given it an XML, I have created an intent on the on-click listener, I have started the activity for result. But what I haven't done yet is I haven't added this activity onto the manifest. As you can see, my manifest, complete manifest file at present contains only one activity. This is the activity that is presently containing. So I'll just copy this up, place it here. Now I need to give in the relative name of the second activity. So I say second. I do a second activity here. And now what is happening is it is having the same intent filters. So I have to remove these intent filters because only the first activity that I have in my application is considered to be the launcher activity. It is not the second activity that has to be considered as the launcher activity here. Alright. So here I have created an activity and I have placed it under the application tag. So I think my sample is ready to go here. So I do a run as Android application. And here I'll be showing up the text views contents, wherein if I'll be clicking on the button, it will be launching the second activity for me. So here it says this is activity 1. If I click on this, it shows me the second activity, and you can see the switching between the screens. So here I'll just do it again for you, so that you can also see this switching between the screens, and you can also come to know the activity stack, about the activity stack. So here, just see if I click on this launch second activity, there's a switching, and it shows the second activity. Alright. Now if I press back, because the first activity that launched this particular activity is also in the back stack. So if I click on back here, you can see the first activity. If I click on back again, because this does not have any activity which has called this up, so application will close down. Alright. Any person having any doubts here? You have access to the chat windows. If any person have any doubts, even if you want to speak up, you can just raise your hands. I'll wait for you all to speak up. In the meanwhile, I have a poll question for all of you here. Using web views, I can generate a call to the browser from within my application. I can render my own HTML content, or I can do both the activities with the help of the web views. So you all have the poll question on top of your screens. So you all can cast your votes onto the polling question that I have raised, or asked you onto your polling screens. So I've got majority of the responses, and they are the correct option, which is the option C, which is both. So any person having any doubts how you can switch between one activities to another, you can quickly write it onto the chat window. I'll wait for you to type up. I'll take a minute's break here. If you have any problems, you can quickly write it onto the chat window. If not, everything is understood, you can quickly write that everything is clear to you, and then I'll move ahead. I hope everybody is with me here. Is there any doubt with this complete switching activity samples that I have showed to you? You can write it onto the chat window. If not, and everything is clear to you, you can write it onto the chat window as well. Alright, so Santosh says no problem, so I'll move ahead with the topics. So here I can also pass information from one activity to another. But how do I do that? So any Android application will comprise of many activities and data needs to be sent from one activity to another. So here I have an example for you all wherein what I have done is I have created an intent and I have used the put extras. So when I use the put extras, what I'm doing is I'm passing some extra information with the help of the intents, which can be used by the retrieving activity, right? So here let me show you an example for it. So I'll use the same example that I have here. So what I'll do is I'll create in the main activity, what I'll do is I'll create another component which is the edit text here. So I go to the graphical representation for this. Alright, go into the text fields and drag and drop a text field here. Alright, do a Control S, go on to the main activity, create an object of the edit text. I say edit. Then I need to reference this with the help of the XML. I say edit text, I say find view by ID, I say r.id.edit text1. Alright. So as soon as I'll be clicking on this button, what I'll be doing is I'll also pass on some extra information with the help of the intent. I say put extra, then the name. So it holds all the values in the form of key value mapping. So here I have to name a key for it and the value for it. So here I'll be naming the key as edit content, and the value that I'll be passing is the edit.getText.toString. Alright, so what I have done is I've just added some extra information onto the intent, and now I need to take it back in the second activity. So here in the second activity, what I'll do is instead of having the text as the second activity, I'll just create a text view here and I'll just replace this up with the content, whatever content has been passed on to me from the first activity. Right. So here after the set content view, I say TV equal to, I do a typecasting here and do a find view by ID here. Let me just see whether I'm referencing to the correct one or not. This is not the one. Let me just see in the second activity.xml here. So this is the one that I'm referring to, and it does not have an ID here. So I'll just give it an ID here. I say @ plus ID, and I say TV. All right. So here in the second activity, what I'll be doing is I'll be referencing the r.id.tv. Alright. So whatever content that I'll be getting from the calling activity. So here I can get it with the help of the intents. So I say get intent dot get extras, get string extras, and the name of the key name, which is the edit content. I just copied it up. So here what I have done is I've just created the get intent dot get string extras and the edit content. Alright, now I need to pass this particular thing onto the text view. So here I'll just copy it up and I say TV dot set text along with the complete value here. Alright, so let's run this up and see how it works up. So whatever value that I'll be passing into the edit text will be actually sent over to the second activity. So here is my first activity. Now I type in anything. I say test activity. Once I do that, and I say launch second activity. So here you can see the text that is coming up from the first activity, which says test activity. I hope this is clear to everyone how you can pass information from one, I would say, the activity to another activity if you want to have some choices to be made. And I'll also be discussing the start activity for result, wherein what happens is, suppose you call an activity, all right, from the first activity, and you want some result to be passed on from the second activity to the first activity, that is the calling activity. So I'll be also covering the start activity for result in the further sessions that we have. But for now, we'll just talk about how we can pass information from one activity to another. So this is how we can do it. Any person having any doubts here, you can write it onto the chat window. Here I have also another poll question for all of you here. What is the component that makes communication between the activities possible? Is it the context, is it the intents, or is it the web views? So you all might be seeing a poll question on your polling screens, and you can cast your votes onto the poll window. Is it the context, is it the intents, or is it the web view that you are? What is the component that makes the communication between the activities possible? I'll wait for all of you to type up casting your votes. And here I have got all the responses, and everybody has voted for the correct option, which is the option B, which is intent. So I'll just close this poll question up for you. And if you have any problems in the components or in the activity switching that we have covered till now, and also about the complete things like how we can pass information from one activity to another, you can write it onto the chat windows. I'll wait for all of you to type up. I'll take a minute here so that if you have any problems, you can write it up onto the chat window. If everything is clear to everyone, you can still write in onto the chat window that this is clear to everyone, and I'll move ahead with the topics that I have. I hope everybody is with me here. All right. So let's move ahead here. So similar, what also we need is sometimes in applications, what we need is suppose there's some username, some password that we are using in my application, and I need to store this in my application itself. It's like I need to have some persistent storage that I can use in my applications, wherein I can save some data onto the application. So the shared preferences provides a way to capture user preferences on the settings of a specific application or an activity. You might have come across various applications wherein they actually ask you, as to what is the thing that you want to save, or say what are the user preferences or the settings. Suppose I take an example of a setting screen wherein you can have the checkbox for say sound off and on and kind of stuff. So these are the various preferences that are actually user specific. So you are using the applications, you can have those preferences. And the preferences are typically the name value pairs. So let's take an example here. So suppose I have a signing screen, all right, and here I have a username and I have a password. And when I click on sign in, what I need to do is I need to preserve this username and password so that I can use it anywhere in my application. So that is how I'll be doing it with the help of the shared preferences. So let's go and create an example of shared preferences here. Where I choose an API version, click on next, finish it up. Once I do that, here I have the main XML. So let's create some user interface onto the main XML here. Alright, so this is my activity. So I'll first change it up from relative to linear. Give it an orientation. and I say orientation has to be vertical. So what I'll do here is I'll create two text views here. Alright, one will be holding the name, the other will be holding the email address. Alright, and then I can place a button beneath that. So what will happen is, as soon as I be clicking on this button, it will be saving the preferences, right? And I can also have the display items. So I can have two text views here, just to show the text that is actually entered by the user, right? So what I'll be doing is I'll be saving the text, and on this click of the second button, what I'll be doing is I'll be displaying this text. So here I have placed two buttons. One will be titled as save and one will be titled as retrieve. So here I say save, here I say retrieve information. Alright, so here I have the text views which is saying large text, large text. So I'll just place this up as blank. Alright, and then I have the text views. So let's go on to the main activity. Create the references here, and I say button save. Similarly, I'll create an edit text. In fact, I'll be creating two edit texts here. I say edit name, and I'll say edit email. Alright, then what I need is I need two text views here, because those text views will be needed for me to show up the text. And I say text name, and I create another one. I say text email. Alright, so I also need another button here, which will be the button for retrieving the information. Now I need to reference all these with the help of the XMLs here. So what I'll do is I'll say button save. Button, I do a find view by ID here. I'll say button retrieve. Oh, I have named it as retrieve only, so I say retrieve. Then I have to place the edit text here. This is for the email one. Then I have for the name one. The text, and I do a find view by ID r.id dot 1. Alright. Then I have taken references of the save button, I have taken references of the retrieve button and the edit boxes. Now I need references for the text views. I do a typecasting here. I say text view 1, no, email is the second one, and then again same for the name. So now what I have done is I have referenced all these things up. Now I need two on-click listeners, one for the button save and one for the button retrieve. So in the on save, what I'll do is I'll create instances of the shared preferences, and I'll be saving some content onto the shared preferences. So let's do it up here. So here I'll be creating an object which is shared preferences, and I call it settings. Alright, here we have an access to the method which says get shared preferences. It is asking me for a name. So here this is the name of the file that I'll be actually storing my key name and value pairs with, key name key value pairs with. So here I can say it as, say, user settings. Then it is asking me for a mode, that is what is the mode that you want to save it up. So I'll just name it as 0 because there is no mode presently that I'm working with. So I've created a shared preferences. Now what I need is I need an editor to the shared preferences, and I say shared preferences dot editor. I create an object for the editor here, and what I need in editor is that I want to edit the settings. So once I do that, I have to edit the settings. Now what I do is I create an instance of editor since I have already created that, and I say in the instance I have to put something. That is, I have to put a string. That is, I want to put some string value into it, and I say name. The value is the one that I get from the edit text. So I say edit name dot get text dot toString. All right. So this is for the name component that I have done. Similarly, for the password also, for the email also, what I can do is editor dot put string, and the name is the email, and I can have the value as edit email dot get text dot toString. All right. So what I have done is I have just taken the values and just passed them on to the editor. I also need to make the changes to the editor. So this I do with the help of the commit method. That is, all the changes that I have made to the editor have been done from my side, and just commit those changes, right? So this is how I have what I have done is I have presently saved this information onto the disk, right? So let's run this up and see whether it works or not. At present, what I have done is I just saved information onto the device. I haven't actually retrieved information. I'll retrieve information in just a few moments from now. So here in the main activity, if I type, I say test example, and in the email I say ABC @1234, anything that I can type in. And when I click on save, it will actually save up the information onto me. So in order to see the information, what I need to do is I need to go on to the DMS view, go on to data. Under data I have a folder which says data again. So I'll go on to this data. I go on to Java and see what is the package name that I have followed. It says com.example.sharedPreferenceSample. So I have to find out this package name, com.example.sharedPreferenceSample. And here you find that. And I'm not finding here any shared preferences file. Let me just check what is the problem here. I think I've done all the things correctly here. Let me just see what is the problem here. In the button save, what I have done is, button save is my button 1. Let me see what it is. Alright, it is actually referencing the wrong button here. I have to change this up, and I say save here, and I have to change it up to retrieve here. It is just that I had. Alright, so let's run it up again, because the name conventions that we had for the buttons got misplaced. So whenever I'll be clicking on the retrieve information, it will work. So I've just made those changes now, and let's see whether it works or not. So here I type in anything, I say test, anything, and then I type in ABC, and I say @1234. When I click on save, it will be saving the information onto the device. So here I go on to the shared preferences here, and here you find a shared preferences folder. Under the shared preferences, I have my XML file. So I'll just pull it out for everybody to see here, and I'll just go to the desktop to make everybody see what exactly this file contains here. I think I pulled it out onto the desktop itself. Just see, I say desktop, I do a save here. Let me just see whether it was pulled out correctly. Alright, that is not pulling out the file here. Let me see if it gets into the music folder here. Alright, so it is just not pulling out the file from the device, I think, purely on the grounds that I think the ADB has run short of it. So what I'll do is I can also pull this device out onto my desktop from this section here. If there is any problem to anyone, you can write it onto the chat window. This section here will actually, you can specify the path where you want to pull it out from the device to your machine. And here you can see, I'll take a look at this XML file. It will be actually containing two key name and key value pairs, one for the name and one for the email. So this is how it is stored. So let me tell you all, you might have been using various games in your applications, in your devices, various gaming applications in your devices. So the various gaming applications, they use this shared preferences file. So if you are actually having the root access to your device, that is, you are using your device as a root user, what you can do is you can also extract these files and make these changes to these files as for the high score things, as for the suppose you are collecting some coins from the application, and you can just pull it back, push this particular file back onto the device, and you can use your applications. And if you feel like, you can show off to your friends that you have made such a big score onto the applications, because all the applications also make use of shared preferences only in order to save the user settings or the user high scores also. Alright, I hope this is clear to everyone how we have stored the information. Now let's also go on to the main activity here and retrieve back the information that we have just stored. So here I have the button save listener. Now what I'll need is, I'll need the retrieve listener here. Under the on-click listener, what I need to do is, I need to get the shared preference settings. So I'll just copy this up, because in this particular section what I'll be doing is, I'll be actually retrieving those informations. And here I'll be retrieving those information with the help of the text name and the text email. And I say text name, alright, I'll retrieve the email first, and I say set text. And here I need to get the values from the shared preferences. I say settings dot get string, and what was the name of the string that I had passed in, so I have to pass in here. So name was email, and I also have to pass in the default value. That is, suppose if it does not find any value for this email content here, that is the key value email, it will also show up to me some default value. But since we have the value, I think the default value will never show up. So I'll just place it as default. If it does not find any value here, it will show the text as default. Otherwise, it will show up the text as we had inputted onto the email field. And similarly for the text name, I'll just replace this email with the name, key name as name. Alright, so this is all that I need to do here. I have already placed those values into the files. So let's run it up and see how we can retrieve information from the shared preferences. So once I do a retrieve here, it will have the values picked up from the shared preferences, which says test anything and abc@1234, because these are the values that I had selected to be stored into the shared preferences. So any person having any doubts with the usage of shared preferences, you can write it onto the chat window. Anyone, Sunmit, Santosh, Vivek, Sumit, anyone having any doubts here, you can write it onto the chat window. I'll wait for a minute because I hope everybody has understood these topics. Any person having any doubts here with the use of shared preferences? I could not pull out the file, but I have shown you how you can do it on your respective machines. All you need to do is you need to go into the data folder of the simulator. Under the data folder, we have another data folder. Then you have to find out the package that is you have created your application with. Suppose this is the package that I have created my application with. I have a shared preferences folder. As soon as I'll be creating something onto the device, that is, if I have created an XML file, I have used the shared preferences and I have created an XML file. Then this is the XML file that which I can find it out, and this is the button which you can retrieve it from the device. I hope this is clear to everyone. You can write it onto the chat window if there is any problems, any understanding doubts you people have, so that I can just clarify it now. I think everybody is with me here. Santosh, Vivek, Sumit, Avinash, anyone having any problems here? So Santosh says it's clear to him. So I think, shall we move ahead? So this is the complete project plan that we have for all of you here. I hope everybody can see this. So before I discuss about the project plan, what I will request every single attendee here is to do is you have to go on to edureka.in. I'll just do it for you all so that you can have we all be on the same page here. So you need to go to edureka.in, log in with your Facebook credentials here. Go to the course page. Which is Android for beginners, and there you'll be finding a section for the projects which says Android project. So you all can download. Can you all just download all these projects quickly onto your respective machines? Can you just respond to that onto the chat window if you people are downloading these projects onto your respective machines? Can everybody see that? The projects that I'm seeing, I'm showing you onto the windows here. just confirm whether you people are downloading these projects from the edureka.in page or not. Santosh, Vivek, anyone having any problems in downloading these projects? You can quickly write it onto the chat window because that is the only mode of communication that PV people have. Santosh is asking me, do we need to download all the 5 files here? One is the Java coding conventions that we have put up for all of you, Santosh, and other are the 4 projects that we have put up for you. So what you can do is you can download all of these 4 projects and you can just read them once. Because when you'll be reading them, you'll be getting some insight into what exactly is the project requirement that you need to fulfill, and then you have to start working on the project. So once you have got these downloaded, if you have any doubts, any clarity that you need on the project descriptions, you can ask me right now. And if you are completely understand what is the project requirements and what exactly is the project, then I'll be sharing the complete project plan with you. Santosh, you can speak now. Can you just confirm whether you are actually reading these project descriptions or not yet?
Yeah, I'm just downloading actually.
All right. So what I would suggest is, what I would suggest is that you can download all the project descriptions. All right. And till the meantime, what I'll do is I'll just share the project plan with you all. All right. You can just take a look at the project plan, read those documents afterwards, and if you have any problems, you can just write me an email or you can take my support on Skype. All right. So I'll just mute you up and just share the complete project plan with you. So this is the project plan that I have for all of you, that I have created for all of you here. So under this project plan, what I have is I have a starting date. All right. So today being the 27th, what I want is I want everybody, that is all the attendees, should be having a project selected by themselves by 28th, that is tomorrow. So I am giving you a complete day to choose the kind of project that you want to start working on from 28th. Then we have kept 2 days for any doubts and specifications. Like if you fail to understand anything onto the project, what exactly is the project requirement, what is the specifications, you can ask us in these 2 days. You can just write us an email or you can contact us on Skype. Then by 30th, I think everybody would have got the project specifications complete. Then from 30th to the 3rd of November, you'll be actually going to do the design submissions. So here, if I talk about the design submissions, so this is layout, graphical representation of every particular screen or the activity that you are going to create in your project has to be submitted to us. So in order to do that, what you can do is you can just run it onto the simulator, go onto the DDMS view and take a snapshot of the simulator. Right? So here you have the various devices. You click on the camera and you can take a snapshot from the simulator of all the XML files that you have created in your application. I'll just show it to you. It is loading up. and here you can see that you can just save and save it onto your disk. All right. So this is how you can submit the various UI submissions here. And after we get all the submissions, after the third day, you'll actually start coding on the project. So you won't start coding on the project before the 3rd of November. You'll be only generating the XML layouts for the project. And then from the 3rd of November, you'll be taking time till 9th of November, which is 6 days of pure coding that you'll be doing on the projects. And then you'll be doing the support and testing. And so by 11th of November, you all would be getting the complete project done by yourselves. So this is the project completion date that we have set up for all of you. Then as soon as you do a project completion here, from 11th to 16th, we'll be taking up 5 days wherein we'll be declaring the certificates, we'll be holding the interviews of the candidates, because we want to make sure that it is only the candidates who have worked on the project and no one else. And then we'll also be awarding the candidates who have made the best project out of the batch. So this is how the complete evaluation and submission process works. So which will get over on 16th of November. Then let me just tell you about the completion here. So certificates will be provided to the students only after completion of the course, but the best project award will also be given to a student. At the time of project submission, an interview will be held to make sure that only you have made the project. We are always there to help you onto the forum. We are there on Skype and we are there on emails. So if you have any problems, you can just contact us. So this is what the complete project plan is like. So any questions, any queries, if any person has, you can write it onto the chat window. Anyone, Santosh, Vivek, any person having any doubts here? With the complete project plan that we have for all of you. I think everybody is fine with this project plan that we have for all of you. If not, you can write it onto the chat window. Anyone, Santosh, Vivek, any person having any problems here? So I think this is all that I have for all of you in today's class. If you have any problems, any queries, any concerns, you can write it onto the chat window. Alright, so this is all that I have for all of you in today's session. I hope to see you all starting working on the projects from now on. That is, you'll be actually submitting the projects that you people will be doing in the coming day, that is tomorrow. So I hope to see you see all the submissions by, as I told you, the final day for submission of all the projects is the 11th of November. So I hope everybody should be submitting the projects by then. So this is all that I have for today's class. See you all in the class next week. Till then, take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
The organizer has ended the session.